Greetings, this is Judy Tucker, consultant for NWOET. Today we are going to be exploring resources from Ohio's pre-K to 12th grade digital library called InfoOhio. And the title I've given it is Eliminating Research Dread. If there's anything that teachers just really struggle, and students as well, and that is getting started in research, following through on the process, and finishing up with their research. So hopefully you will find some resources that you can share with your students that will make it a little less dreadful. I'm going to be sharing my screen and going live to InfoOhio's website and showing you all the wonderful resources that are free to all Ohio students, parents, and teachers. So let's get started and share my screen. This is the InfoOhio webpage that needs no login whatsoever. When the students are at school, they're actually connected to their local library, their building's library, and actually their district library if they use InfoOhio for their cataloging system. So we're going to today look at the research resources for grades 6 through 8 middle school. And I will be having another webinar recorded video for high school because the list of resources is different for those two grade bands. So let's get started and go into the grades 6 to 8, depending on what your middle school may be, even 5th grade. There is a K to 5, but most of the resources for 5th grade and 6th grade can go toward either way. Some of them are the same. I'm going to start with the one that all students need to know about, no matter what their grade, when they're doing research or even just doing a basic report, and that is the ISearch feature of InfoOhio. And I suggest that students are introduced to this as low as maybe 2nd or 3rd grade. Certainly middle school students need to know it's there and realize, I'm going to click on the little I for the more button. It's found in many different places besides in each grade band. The student can search for their school library, as I said, if the school uses the InfoOhio's integrated library system by Cersei Dynex. It goes by some different names. Sometimes the media specialist will put the Fetch. Sometimes it will be CAT or CAT Junior. And there are other library cataloging systems, but if they use the one that is integrated with InfoOhio, it will search their local library as well when they do a search. And you can see there are widgets for the Fetch tool where the student can search, put it right. It's a very great little logo with a search box. But what this more info page has on it are tools for teachers to use when they are showing their students InfoOhio. There's videos that they can watch, YouTube videos. There's activities. You can see there's some lesson ideas and so forth. And there's even an educator guide, which is printable if somebody would want to print it or post it on the materials on their learning management system or Google Classroom. In fact, you can go into and put resources from this page on Google Classroom directly, especially if you have a professional development page for teachers in Google Classroom. So that's iSearch, and we're just going to show you how easy it is if you were doing research on, say, cells. The student could go in here and they can just, click enter or return, and up will come books from their local library if that is the case. I am just logged in as a general statewide user, and so up comes videos and ebooks that are in the area of cells. And the great part about the iSearch for doing research over using another search engine like DuckDuckGoose or whatever it's called, DuckDuckMoose, or Google, is that the resources the students will find in here are vetted. They're not going to be in a lot of ads or anything. I won't say there are no ads found anywhere in the resources, but very little, and they're also safe. And they can narrow it down, much like they might do if they went to a search engine for a college, or even a public library might have their own search engine similar to this, where you can just, you're looking for just video recordings, they can do that, and they can say, I want to include video recordings about cells in my search for ebooks and videos. They can go right to encyclopedias. And in the encyclopedias area, they actually have a special feature that is called a research starter. So the student can click on the topic there, which I put in cells, and up will come an article, encyclopedia type article. And when it's in the HTML format, it has the feature for accessibility to listen to the article. And oftentimes they will have diagrams if that's part of the resource. And of course they have highlighted terms and vocabularies, but and this comes from the Salem Press Encyclopedia of Science, which is highly regarded. So other things they have on the research starters are related information over on the right-hand side that the students can dig deeper, because you can't just say, I'm doing research on cells. You need to narrow down what question you're trying to answer. But on the InfoOhio's ISearch results, you're always going to come up with this list of tools on the right-hand side that you can put this resource right into Google Classroom. The student can do that as well. The student could just add it to their Google Drive. Maybe their school doesn't use Google Classroom. They can print it. They can email it to themselves, which is very helpful because they can give it a subject title, say article number 1. They can save it if they set up an account, and they would need to log into their account for this particular resource. And it's, if you go all the way to the bottom, it's an EBSCO resource, so that if you have an EBSCO account, it's not something I would suggest for students to save in that way. You also can save it to your desktop, to a folder on your computer, or up here, you just save it to Google Drive. You can export the article to a different format. The permalink would be if you're collecting a group of links that you want to copy and paste that will never change. This address up here, this URL up here, it could change. You never know when EBSCO does some reorganization, adds more things or whatever. The best thing to do is to, if you want to do a link, is to use the permalink. And of course, the listen is over in several places, and then the translate. I'm not sure you caught that, but when you listen to it, if you want to choose one of multiple languages, I didn't ever count up to see how many, but there's well over 50 languages that it will translate into that. Or you can even just click the translate button and it will translate the written information here into whatever language you choose. So that's just a real quick introduction to the iSearch. And if you have to limit it to publishing dates, you want more recent things, that also can be one of the, and this one doesn't have a lot of lists of publishers because this is the encyclopedia link, but the basic sources, you can choose which magazine you want to use, and they list maybe 5 or 6 here, and they also have more like USA Today, Science News, Discover, Science News for Kids, all listed down there. And so the basic sources are going to be the ones with the shorter articles, the lower reading levels. And if the student chooses the advanced sources, which there you might have some middle school students that want to find even more than they found, especially if they're got a very specific research question. They may need some of the academic journals and higher level magazines, but again, they can narrow it by the publications and actually even the language over on the right hand side by using those filters. If their research is related to a STEAM topic, they might also want to click on the STEAM tab and find those articles. And since cells is definitely a STEAM topic, you're going to find even more resources under that topic than are in just the advanced sources. And the open access are articles that are from a lot of academic journals, government reports, and so forth. So that may have to wait for once a student advances to high school. I wouldn't recommend that open access one for the middle school students. So that's iSearch. We're going to go back, close these tabs up here, and go back to the iSearch or out of the iSearch. And whenever we are on any page in InfoOhio, if you see the power button and the logo for InfoOhio and you click on it, you can go back to the home page, and sometimes that's quicker than going back 5 steps to see all the resources, a list of resources. Okay, when the students are doing research, there's many different individual resources like World Almanacs for Kids, Today's Science, Literary Reference Center. But I'm going to start with one that encompasses the process of research, and that's this Go, Ask, Act, Achieve. And just to learn more about it, if you can read the small letters, it helps students in grades 4 to 10 learn the inquiry process by providing digital tools, resources, and strategies. It provides a framework for problem-based learning and research projects. It's just a wealth of information that the InfoOhio staff has put together for students and teachers to use to get started on research. You can see that they actually have a session here talking about reimagining your 6th to 12th grade classroom with quality materials for InfoOhio. And you also have a teacher's guide, and you have a learning pathways course that will highlight the use of the resources in Go, Ask, Act, and Achieve. So if you want to delve into that for your own professional development, learn more about it than just what I'm providing here, this would be a great thing. And you can get professional development, a certificate that you can perhaps use for licensure. And you can see that it's a 4-hour, you would get a 4-hour certificate. There's actually exercises and using Go, Ask, Act, and Achieve as part of the inquiry tools. And then there is a quiz, and successful passing of it, I believe at 80%, will get you that 4-hour certificate. So again, instead of backing up 3 levels, I just go to this homepage and start again back at the Go, Ask, Act, and Achieve. The students would probably just go in directly in this way. And I look at this as more of a resource for teachers to guide student research at the middle school level. So you have the 3 questions: ask, act, and achieve parts of doing research. And the first one, of course, is deciding what kind of research you want to do. What is your question? And so each one of these questions here have resources that are part of it. There's a KWL chart. What do I already know about a topic? There's resources about learning about the World Book Student, which is an encyclopedia by the World Book. There's a finding chart, and there is an iSearch research starters. I always showed you one on cells, but it's going to talk about that. But this is what some of the resources look like. They can be Google Docs that the student gets a view only copy, and they can then go to file and they can make their own copy. And this can be something the teacher actually shares with their student through an email, through Google Classroom, whatever way the teacher feels most comfortable sharing it with their middle school students. And I'm sure there would be some instruction on using that. There's also, what problem do I want to solve? Kind of skip to the second question there. So this talks about a feature that is in that page of grade 6 to 8 resources. It's called I Wonder. If you're not sure what it is and never even clicked on it, you might want to check that out. This one here, narrowing my topic, question, mix, and pick and mix. It just takes a few hours probably to look through it, every one of the resources, and go, ask, act, and achieve. And there, some of them duplicate. You would not use all of them. This talks about narrowing the topic. And again, it's a Google Doc that can be given to students and they can make their own copy by going to file. The teacher can also modify once they make their own copy. The teacher can put some of their own content into that. How do I begin my research? There's even some videos in here, and here is an example of 2 videos using Wikipedia. If students find out about Wikipedia, they may say, oh, everything is right here, this is great, and they need to know that there's some great things about Wikipedia, and there's also some things they need to know about Wikipedia as far as how it can be used in research in good ways and how not to use it. Identifying your research needs. Here's a whole section on learning about ISearch. Okay, that's the part about asking the questions. Okay, let's open up the ACT group of questions now. And there's a whole section, and here is a little picture to incite them to check about acting on their research. How do I find the trustworthy information? I might have even thought the Wikipedia would go into here, but it doesn't really matter which section they have it in. But how do I evaluate my resources to find trustworthy ones? And you can see that some of them are websites. You have this icon for a website. This one is a document, the 5 whys of website evaluation. And of course, these identify that they are Google Docs and analyzing primary sources. And let's go on to achieve, the last one. And how do I evaluate my project? But let's go to that first one. How do I create my project? And you'll see here's a Google slide set that could be downloaded. And this one, they actually even have some create tools like Adobe Spark, Loom, Prezi, Canva, Pick for Learning, Sound Bible. That's actually a new one. And you will see this updated and changed if a resource happens to not be available anymore, or something better comes along, they might put that in there. So enough for Go, Ask, Act, and Achieve. We're going to go back into our main page here. There are awesome resources within resources like World Almanac for Kids. By all means, the first time you take a look, don't go right into the resource as a teacher. Go into the more information so you can get some training information for yourself and for your students. They have an overview video that you could either post it to Google Classroom, or you could show it to the entire class or put it in a center. And they always have different resources, additional resources here, but I am going to go right into the World Almanac for Kids to show you this resource that is new for the 2021 and 22 school year. And not only does it have good resources for research, we'll put the word cells in here since we were looking at cells in iSearch. Now, iSearch does search this resource as well. There's only a few that it does not. The iSearch does not search the foreign language encyclopedias. And it also, they're working on the new collection of ebooks that has been added this year for the lower elementary. So it shouldn't affect. Most of the things for middle school would be available through the results from the iSearch. But you can see here that there's a lot of great articles if the student had a question about animal cells, for instance, because there's all kind of cells that, and this one is available in PDF. And almost all of the resources that they're going to use for research are going to include citation information. And all the student has to do is copy and paste that, although there are tools to export it into EasyBib. And I'm going to just skip that step because we're running a little short on time, but there are citation things, and a student can view it as a PDF if they want to see some of the pictures and things. I always like to look at the PDF version of the article because there's some awesome pictures, graphs, and things that sometimes don't show up in just the HTML version. This is more like they take a picture of if it's from a magazine. World Almanac for Kids also has wonderful videos and a lot of resources. In fact, investigate the teacher resources. That would be great to help guide you, to guide the things to help guide students better. So that's the new World Almanac for Kids. Let's go back to the main page for 5 through 8, or 6 to 8, I'm sorry, middle school. Other places that the students may want to look are videos. There's a wonderful video collection because videos can be used for research, and sometimes students are much more attracted to a video to get started answering their research question. There's another research on Science Online. You have World Book Student, which is a most appropriate of all the World Book products for middle school. And if you only allow so many resources to be encyclopedia resources, make sure the students go to Explora for grades 6 to 8, because this is going to have the resources, your primary resources, magazine articles, newspaper articles, and so forth. And again, if you know what question you're using in your research, then you definitely can, and you can see where that one came from, that research starter came from EBSCO, because right here's that same diagram. But you bring up the general, for some reason we lost it there. We'll start again. But over on the side, these limiters, again, the students need to learn to use those. Again, you can limit the years that you want the publication. You can just get magazine articles, primary source documents, and also the Lexile range is available in the Explora. So if you know a student is lower than their grade level, let's say they're in 6th grade, but you know their grade level for reading is more around the 4th grade level, definitely have them pick one of the lower readings than what the 6th grade would be here. That you've got a range for, say, high school reading. If you're not sure about Lexile levels, just do a search in iSearch for Lexiles, and you can find a chart that will tell you what grades are They don't use just grade levels for the Laxiles. But again, you can go in here and you can find more on that. But the same way you can find more source materials by going down, and you can also, it says update it. So that's Explora, which found, in fact, 205,023 resources for just the word cells. So that's a great resource for research. We're not going to go into any more of the, today's science is awesome as far as having charts, and that's new this year as well. We've had science online, but there's different things in science online. So if a student's doing a STEAM research project or a STEM research project, definitely have them get started on science online and today's science. Awesome resources. Again, teachers, go into the more button here, the little I for more information, and go into iWonder. These are resources that are outside of the InfoOhio collection, but they answer basic questions. So if they're doing something about people, places, or things in history for their research, this is going to lead them to some very interesting websites that say they're going to do more about US history, learn more about, there's going to be different resources. These are all pages. So some of these could have some ads in it because it will go outside the InfoOhio resources. That's all we have time for today for looking at eliminating research dread. I think if students see that they don't have to go hunting in 10 different places for their resources, they will soon fall in love with InfoOhio the way I have fallen in love with it over the last 20 plus years. So hope you have some new information that you can share with your students. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and that you have learned something new to take to your students. Good day.